Thank you for listening to Dung Mummy Radio. This is the Ustad. You've been listening to Kink Gong. It's a track called the Guqin Remix. This is a digital album. I believe it's also available on vinyl. I will find out in a moment. I actually have Laurent live via Skype. So I'm going to put him on now. Laurent, can you hear me?
Yes.
Great. We can hear you perfectly fine, too. So this is working out. Let me turn it so you can kind of see me too. Yeah, you're looking good there. So what we want to establish at the very beginning here to the listeners is that this is one of the important players in the Sublime Frequencies label. So Laurent has recorded several of the field recording albums on the Sublime Frequencies label.
Can you see the puppet behind me?
Yes, I can see a puppet behind you there. That's beautiful. What is that?
This is the main reason why I came here. I just arrived from Paksay, which is just over an hour and a half driving. And I didn't want to take the motor today because it was pouring. Rain was really heavy.
Okay.
So I've taken a bus which taken ages to arrive here. And I'm here, I've got a contact here with a French guy who's been here 4 years trying to revive this shadow puppet culture that just died in 1975 where the communists took over. And he revived it the last 4 years, and they're having shows here and there in the country. So I'm here to record a performance of this shadow puppet theater involving 12 musicians.
That's amazing. Can you hold that up to the camera a little bit there?
Okay, now I should hear you better.
Okay, so can you hear me okay, Laurent?
Yeah, it's better.
So listeners, so you know, this is Laurent Jeanneau. Am I pronouncing your name correctly? Laurent Jeanneau?
Jeanneau.
Jeanneau. And you're French. You're from what city? Paris?
Yeah.
You're from Paris, and you spend most of your time in what countries?
Well, I'm 48 years old, and when I was 18 years old, I left. That means I've been 30 years, mostly abroad. I even been in your country for some while in New York City in the 90s, but most of the time I spent in Asia. And the last 12 years, specifically in Southeast Asia, Cambodia, Laos, Vietnam, and China.
So where is home?
Well, the last 7 years, I've managed to make a place that I could call home, the place where my son is born. That was in southwest China, Yunnan province. But now I split from my wife, and I was really disgusted by China, so I left. So I'm back to being homeless.
So what city are you in right now?
Yeah, right now I'm drifting. I spent the last 5-6 months in Europe. I wanted to be back in Europe. I hadn't been there for so many years. And I had some gigs organized by some French cultural institution, organizing 2 gigs for me in Vietnam. So I came back to Southeast Asia.
What city are you in now?
To perform those 2 gigs, and as soon as the gigs were finished, then I went to explore area where I had not been. I'm also helping a French guy doing documentary movies on different music in the world. I'm helping him to find musician here, open my network of musician, of traditional musician that I know here, mostly ethnic minority musician.
So that's your specialty, is recording ethnic minority music.
Yeah.
And that's your life's work.
So tonight is a different story. Tonight it belongs to this 1 or 2% of my recording, where those people are actually not minorities. They are Lao. Lao being the dominant main ethnic group in Laos, even if they're only 45% of the population. They've been controlling the minorities for many centuries.
So how are you able to communicate? Do you speak the language in Lao?
Yeah, I roughly speak a little bit of Lao. I feel much more comfortable in Cambodia, where I speak Khmer. I lived there between 2003 and 2006. And Chinese, where I've been living the last 7 years. Where so today was very funny. I was in this little pickup with like 10 people. And one guy was Chinese, one guy was half Khmer, so I could speak Khmer and Chinese, and they would translate what I wouldn't know what to say in Lao.
That's interesting. So you how do you approach somebody when you want to record their music?
Well, a lot of time, every CD has a different story.
Yeah.
It's a matter of establishing a network of people being based in one area and asking to a lot of different people the same question. Do you know musicians? Any specific ritual happening those days? Did anybody just die? Is there going to be a funeral out there? It's being able to communicate and have the trust of the people, that they're gonna give me, I'm gonna get some feedback, and they're gonna tell me the places where I can go. So right now, it's having a connection with a French guy who I've met in 2006 in Vientiane, and we reconnected recently for other reasons, and happened to be here in the neighborhood, and so he's setting up a show tonight for me to record. And the other French guy who is here with me is also going to shoot a documentary film on that show, on that visual event involving 12 musicians.
Wow. So can you talk about your new DVD on Sublime Frequencies?
So it just came out like less than a week ago, and it's been shot by David Harris. David Harris is someone who's been based mostly in Beijing, capital of China, for at least 10 or 15 years. And he's actually specialized in doing video clip for Beijing rock bands. And then living in Beijing can be pretty tough, so he needed a break, and he came to live 6 months in 2010 in the place where I'm based, in the mountain of Yunnan. We've met, he stayed in my home, and every time I would move somewhere, it was northern Laos and southern China, he would come with me and shoot a documentary on what we would discover together. And so it's a compilation of like all the recording, all the scenes he was able to shoot in 2010 following me, and also doing interview when we were back home, and trying to make a portrait of what I'm doing. The portrait is nice because it's not only about me, it's the opportunity to discover the environment, the landscape, how people look like, because I've been focusing mostly on audio. And so it's nice also to have visual, to have video to go along for people to understand a little bit what it looks like.
So how many CDs do you have on Sublime Frequencies, and how many do you have of the Kink Gong?
On Sublime Frequency, I've released 5 compilations. The first one came out in 2006, and every time they called the same name, ethnic minority music of. So the first one was of Cambodia, the second one of southern Laos, the third one of northern Vietnam, the fourth one on Xinjiang, the border with Kazakhstan, the northwest of China, and the last one in April this year on the ethnic minority of southern China.
Wonderful.
And so now the DP is the sixth one, and my own label is now a collection of 135 CDRs that I make at home.
Oh, that's unbelievable how many you've done so far. Wow. And can we tell the listeners, we can kind of distinguish between the field recordings and then also the ones where you've done manipulations, mixes.
Oh, I
basically.
haven't even talked about that.
Yeah.
So far, when I tell you about the 5 CD on Sublime Frequency, it's only the raw recordings and also my collection of 135 CDR. It's only the raw recording. I also transform those raw recording into something in a more experimental soundscape kind of way.
Mm-hmm.
And this is being released on an English label called Discrepant on vinyl, LPs, and I also released stuff on the Chicago label at Atavistic, 2009.
Okay.
And a box of 5 remix on a French label that came out last year, a small label called Stembogen in Paris. And also something on the only label of experimental music that exists in China, a 1-hour piece that I call Soundscape China that I've made in 2002. It got released in 2007 in China.
How do you have time to do all this? There's a lot of releases. You're very busy.
Yeah. Well, it's my passion, it's my life.
Yeah.
This is how I spend my time. I also have a child. I also have to do all kind of other things, you know. I also have to cook. Yeah, so there's specific moment in my life where I've got more time to be on the road, like right now. The mother of my child, they are back in China.
Uh-huh.
They were with me in Vietnam. I took my son to France, and then we arrived from France to Vietnam, where I had 2 gigs. And the mother came from China, pick him up, and they get back home. So it's easier to travel around to places where, like today, I have to work in the mud, and it's tropical. It's still warm.
So it is. I mean, we've heard a lot about the destructive typhoon that just hit the Philippines.
Yeah, there's been lots of typhoons that are hitting the Philippines, and eventually they hit the central coast of Vietnam,
Mm-hmm.
and they might come a little bit here. It's not too stormy. It's just rain, which is a pain in the ass because I'm driving a moto and I really don't like to be under the rain on the local moto. So today I've taken the bus.
Okay.
To come here.
Oh, wow. Well, I really appreciate you talking with us. This is a real pleasure. So what is next on your horizon?
I also wish to visit friends in Cambodia and Thailand in the following weeks, and to be in a relaxed environment where I just can concentrate on my own remix. Those days I'm concerned with remixing a friend of mine who is a Chinese French person, but his passion was Turkish music. So he's got a huge collection. He was the disciple of a great musician, a great Turkish musician who lived in France. He bought plenty of his instruments, and I wanted to do recording of all those incredible Turkish instruments, and we want to release a double vinyl, where the first vinyl is the raw recording, and the second vinyl the remix. Because so far it's been 2 different worlds, you know, the world of people who want to listen to the raw recordings and the world of people who listen to the remix.
Yes.
And I'd like to release a product where it's both are on the same product.
So really, so you do.
But I guess more or less, more and more people from one the raw recording or people from the remix side will start to mix, and it would be less obvious who is just into raw recording and who is just into remix. I hope people can be in both camps, you know.
Yeah.
And once I'm done with that, January, February, I want to be in Myanmar. Alan Bishop of Sublime Frequency has been there numerous times. He has told me always to this is the place I should discover. I've been doing a lot of recording on the border with Myanmar, living in Yunnan. I've recorded a lot of stuff that are very interesting. My only problem is I don't want to just hang out in the south where the Buddhist culture is predominant. I want to be in the north where the ethnic minority are predominant, and this is more or less a war zone. So I don't know if I will be allowed in this area. I want to explore the Shan state and the Kachin state. Kachin state go all the way bordering Tibet.
Well, please be careful.
Yeah, but
you know, be cautious.
usually I don't insist. I've been kicked out of certain zones here in southern Laos in the past and in the central plateau of Vietnam. I hate ending up in jail and being kicked out by nasty cops. So usually I don't insist. When I get kicked out once, I just go back.
Okay, you play it safe. That's good. That's good. I'm happy to hear that. Yeah. So when will you come back to the United States?
Well, I left the United States in '99.
Yeah, it's been a long time.
I was based in. Well, I would be glad to come back and do what I'm good at doing. Just to be invited. If in any chance some American clubs, organization wish to invite me to present my work, I'd be glad to come. But so far it's not the case. So I've got more connections in Europe. Mostly France and in Germany, basically, Belgium.
Well, over the summer we had there was a festival of the Hisham's films, Hisham Mayet from Sublime Frequency. They showed a couple of his films.
Something happening outside. Should we go have a look?
Yeah.
Let me see.
Yeah, let's hear it.
It might be a wedding.
Oh, wow. Oh, this is incredible.
So they're all drunk. They all carry a bottle of alcohol. If it was a funeral, they would all wear a white headband. So this is not a funeral. It's probably a wedding.
Oh. Wow. What a treat.
Back inside.
What a treat.
So Champasak is a very, very small town. You know, when basically when for like 400 years previous to 400 years of Siamese, what we call now Thailand, of Siamese invasion, previous to the coming of the French colonialism, it was roughly 3 kingdoms in Laos. And Vientiane in the center being the biggest one, Luang Prabang in the north being the most prestigious one, and Champasak was just a loser kingdom, very much under the influence of the Khmer. So the music here, I was here in this particular place, Champasak City, which is just a big village, you know, right by the Mekong. I was there in 2006 to record the royal court music. And this is exactly like the Pink Orchestra from Cambodia.
Okay.
The royal music here was totally under the influence of Cambodian culture. But tonight, the Shadow Puppet show is actually more popular culture, and that involved those prestigious royal elements, like all these different xylophone in wood or metal, but also involved Ken, the mouth organ, which is the symbol of popular music in Laos, from south to north.
Okay, so I don't understand. It's an organ? You said it's an organ?
Mouth organ.
Mouth organ.
Mouth organ. It's. Well, I don't have here one to show you.
Is it bamboo? Is it bamboo?
Yeah. So. There's actually 3 types of mouth organ. The one of the Hmong, who come from China, and you can find them in northern Laos, northern Vietnam, has 6 bamboo tubes. The one of ethnic minority in the south is usually 2 lines of 7 tubes, so that's 14 tubes, and the Lao version is 2 times 8, so 16 tubes.
16.
So
Okay.
each tube has a little copper reed inside,
Mm-hmm.
inserted in a resonance box that you apply straight to the mouse, and by blocking the holes like on a flute, then you produce sound.
Okay.
So you don't necessarily want to produce all the 16 sounds at the same time, but since you don't have 16 fingers anyway.
Right. That's wonderful.
But this is a very beautiful instrument. I've always recorded lots of they call it Ken.
Okay, Ken.
But the reason that brought me originally to this part of the world was to record orchestra of gongs, which is something that only exists on the central plateau of Vietnam, northeast Cambodia, and southern Laos. And it's only it's the only music, the only instrument that can be played in order to be in contact with the spirits within animist ceremonies. So that doesn't involve the Lao people or the Khmer people. This is only a story of the ethnic minorities. And as you might know, I was recently on the coast of Vietnam, where I went to a village where they still have this tradition of 450 years old gong foundries, where they still manufacture gongs for the minorities.
Yeah, can you go into the detail about how they manufacture these? I saw a photograph. I don't understand it.
Yeah. Well, you do. What takes the longest time is the cast.
Mm-hmm.
It's like clay, you know.
Mm-hmm.
It's a very well polished cast. So, and then the metal that they use, 80% of it, it's American bombs.
Oh my God!
Have been sent here between 1960 to 1973.
Uh-huh.
So there's just so many bombs around here that they collect those, and it's the main material that they use to cast the gong. So you need a fusion that reach 1,000 degrees Celsius. It's achieved in like 15-20 minutes, and it's all melting, and you've got this golden liquid that just go into the cast. And in 20 minutes, you open up, and the gong is far from being ready at that stage, because you still need to tune it. So you tune it by hammering it with a hammer and polish it, and it's going to take a while before it sounds good. And what doesn't sound good end up on display in shops for tourists, who just buy the object for the looks of it and not for the sounds of it. And the ethnic minority buy real good one that sound good, that is something they use as music instrument. So in all this gong orchestra culture, it's one gong per person. So if you have 13 gongs, you have 13 persons, and each one does his note at the precise moment. And that's the whole point of this unity game.
I see. It must be absolutely beautiful to be there and experience that.
Yeah, so I've recorded lots of gongs in northeast Cambodia and southern Laos. Right now, being in the Central Plateau of Vietnam, I mean, being not far away from it, I've been warned by everybody not to go, because the police is really tough. I got kicked out in 2005 out of Pleiku. This area, Pleiku, Ban Method, Daklak, is the biggest producer of coffee in the world after Brazil. So basically, the Vietnamese businesses, helped by the government, has confiscated the land of the ethnic minorities. We are really pissed off. We've been turned into slaves to work for the coffee plantation, and so there's still a lot of ethnic tension. Therefore, they don't wish that foreigners come to witness those tensions. So I've already, I know several Western people who've been kicked out of this area, so it's very tricky from there.
So I'm sure you've witnessed a lot of things like that in your travels.
A
lot of things where the ethnic minorities...
As I said before, Yeah. I try to stay away from the tensions, but inevitably,
Yeah.
if you have a feeling for justice and honesty, you know perfectly who's been fucked up and who is the fucker, you know?
Yeah. So you hold a French passport still? You're a citizen of France, living on a visa in China. Is that how it works? I'm not under.
Yeah. I'm married in China, but there's not such a thing as double nationality in China. They don't recognize it.
Okay.
My son had to be French because we was considered it was better than being Chinese. And anyway, at the time when he was born, we were not married. That means, according to Chinese law, our son didn't exist.
Ah.
You know, so you have like 20, 30 million illegal Chinese people who've never left China, born in China, but born outside of a married couple, and therefore they don't exist.
Wow. That's
no rights whatsoever.
Really?
So my son is French, yes.
Okay. So this is incredible. Speaking to you, how do you feel? How do you feel? You're feeling good, right?
Yeah. Life is exciting. I'm still not finished with it. Yeah. There's still more things to discover. Those last days, I was taking this French filmmaker to shoot different scenes of musicians that I've previously known, because I've experienced they were in a good mood. I mean, to explain a little bit to you, a good mood here for musicians means they start they drink. So when they start to be a little bit drunk, then they start, and the more they drink, the more they go into a kind of trance, and it's really something to witness. And the French filmmaker, as so many filmmakers, wanted to do everything a little bit too quick and didn't actually get good results. So it was a little bit frustrating for me, but I've warned him that the first 2 hours might not be so interesting. Maybe the third hour that's going to be the best.
Really?
That's what I will keep on my CD. When the content of the song goes more sexual and they're more
because they're loosened up. Is that what it is?
Wide.
They're just more open, more loose. Or is that how it is? Because they're a little more drunk.
Exactly. Yeah. So I play a big role for this kind of improvised singing. So what we've seen involves a Ken, the mouth organ, and a singer, woman or man, and it can be responsive singing. And a drum, which is the very, very, very super basic beat, and most of the time nowadays it's not even a drum; it's a plastic container.
Oh, really? What's the music in the background that I'm hearing?
Lao pop.
Okay. That sounds pretty. I like it.
Yeah. I just stopped in that cafe where I met Yves. Yves is a French guy who's been here 4 years, and to revive this shadow puppet culture, which is something that had just totally disappeared. So I just talked to him, and this is the only place in town that seems that have a Wi-Fi. So that was a place where I was gonna sit down here, and this is the place where I met him. And he told me, so basically 4 years ago, he arrived, and a very old man who died in between. I told him about this culture here, local culture of shadow puppet theater. And everything has been hidden since 1972. Has been hidden in boxes by some monks outside of a temple. So they just reopened it 4 years ago, and everything was still there. All the puppet made usually in thick leather, and some needed to be renovated, and they made new one also, and the instruments were there, and so it's just been hidden from all this wartime and hardcore communist time after 75, where all culture was simply banned, you know.
Mm-hmm. Are there older people who remember that time, still living now, who were
Well,
part of the...
apparently he's been relying a lot on this one specific man who had all the knowledge of the lyrics, and the lyrics implies a lot of improvisation. So apparently it can be extremely funny. They do show with like 200 or 2,000 people in different villages. The guy is being financed by some French culture organization. I mean, the Laos, if they have money, is to show off and to drive a four-wheel drive, is not to invest in culture, you know, let's face it. So culture here, whether it relies on real tradition, on grassroots of something real, or if you're trying to revive something that is dead, you're coming with your own money from Western countries, because here they just start to realize that it has a value in terms of boosting tourism. But that's the only value that it has for them.
Right.
I'm talking about the state and the global perception of the official perception.
Right.
Yves, I just told you about. Here is he, and he
Hello.
came to pick up his puppet. So Yves is a French guy who's
Hello,
reviving this lost tradition.
What's your name?
So Sabaidi is hello. He's called Yves Bernard, and Sabaidi, what just told you, means hello in Lao language.
Sabaidi. Oh, it's nice.
Yeah, so it's going to be exciting tonight to see this show involving 12 musicians. And apparently it's only involving men. Even the woman character are being told by men who then take a woman voice.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
I'll find out more tonight.
So where's the performance? Is it in a theater in the village, or?
Yeah, he's been renting out a big house a little bit outside of the village, and this is where it's going to happen. We wanted to do it outdoor to attract more crowd and it'd be more funny, and then local people would come over to have a look. But it's been raining so much that everything is wet. I'm not quite sure if we will be able to do it outdoor or indoor inside the wooden house, where people then would not dare so spontaneously to come in.
Okay.
This time is actually more. It's not a real show. It's actually more a show for the purpose of shooting a film and recording it in good quality.
Okay.
So we will probably have a spontaneous crowd, but we don't know really who, and we haven't really advertised that as such.
But
usually they do. He's been doing, for the last 4 years, he told me he's been doing 200 shows all over Laos. Free shows, so they arrive in villages and then the entire community is there, because that very, very rarely happens. You know?
Right.
And here, the main, the biggest problem of Laos is they've been totally brainwashed by from Thailand, Thai TV station. So everybody is fluent in Thai language because they all watch Thai TV, which they consider more funny, or it's definitely more commercial and more stupid, my point of view. And also the lack of Lao authorities to allow more freedom on their own media are just scared away the Lao crowd from watching their own TV, so they're all watching Thai TV, and yeah, it's like a real promotion of culture of a commercial music.
Did you ever see the film Uncle Boon May?
No, was that?
It was a Thai film from like maybe 2 years ago, and it won some awards in film festivals in the West. Uncle Boon May, who remembers his previous lives. Well, that was a long title. It was a really good film. I wondered if you had seen it.
No.
It's probably not famous there. More famous in the West, I think. in like,
exactly.
Sundance Film Festival or something,
It's like when I was living in China, people would tell me all kind of news that I'd just never heard in China.
Really?
I mean, regarding Chinese stories, but there's also lots of Chinese stories that they haven't heard. We just got different information here and there. It's nice to have access to both.
So you yourself are really more interested in the audio, in the music, right, and not so much in making video recordings.
Yeah, because I think it's a very old-fashioned way of thinking, probably because nowadays everything is audio-visual. So some people ask me to produce videos, but I'm not. It's also a certain technique. I mean, you need to master your technique, otherwise people think you're just doing a lousy job. And also, my own culture regarding music, it's a strictly audio culture because I think it's more mysterious. I think you enter a world that at least you go into it through the emotion and I mean, it's like my mother who lived outside of Paris and watch every day a channel dedicated to documentary, and she thinks she has traveled the world. She thinks she knows the world, where all this culture of video, of documentary, are actually a big manipulation most of the time. So at least I don't even try to manipulate people with images. I let them totally free with what they can hear, And we have culture in the West of strictly audio culture, where in Southeast Asia it's not the case, because out of all those years of hardcore communism and war previous to that, in the 90s, basically, when development started to be the main focus of everybody in society, the first object they were able to buy was the TV. And so the first object that were released for people to listen to music were VCD, the ancestors of DVD, where you could listen to the girl, but also it was the beginning of the karaoke culture. So karaoke is extremely big here for all kind of music, even for traditional music. I mean, there's very few, far less product of traditional music than there are of pop culture. But they also adopt the media of karaoke. So you can karaoke on some old molam here in southern Laos. It's funny. So the TV was made for that, and it's a different way of listening in the Western world and here in Asia.
So you're not a student of anthropology or ethnomusicology. You're not formally trained in university on ethnography or something.
No. When I was 18, I was a young rebel. I just wanted to go out, explore the world, and I had no money from Papa Mama, so I had to work. So first place where I had to survive. So I could just not afford to go to university, and I didn't see the point. For me, it was just like, okay, great for the bourgeois. We can go to the university. I cannot, and let's not be ashamed of it. And it doesn't matter. There's millions way of learning, of getting somewhere in life. I don't think university is the only way. And I've seen lots of students, whether ethnomusicologists or anthropology students, who come on the field and they feel totally awkward because they come and they've read all kind of books, and it's interesting, but they're not fitting the landscape most of the time. I mean, I've met real, not students, but real anthropologists or linguists that have been here 20 years, and those guys I have great respect for them. I mean, they're. But the students, the people that I've met in my life that just came out, they were all paranoid, not wanting to share their experience because they were so afraid they just see me as a concurrent. They had to impress the professor back home for their PhD or whatever, and they just didn't want to give me any information, you know. Where when I deal with someone who is already a professional, somebody I share a passion with, then we exchange information. I mean, anybody who come to me, and there's always lots of people who send me email and ask me questions and blah, blah, blah. I answer, or I say, well, if you're really into that, you buy my CD for a few bucks, and then you've got all the information written on there, and you've got the name of the musician, and you can go, and the name of the village, and you can go find those people. But you have so many people who, on purpose, don't put the name of the village, don't put the name of the musician. They want to keep it mysterious. They want to make sure, okay, I was the only in the world who been there and recorded those guys. It's not my way. This is why I'm escorting now this young French guy, because he's going to put it online, and he's going to be video of those people, and why not? My only regret is that he hasn't witnessed them in the same situation like I did. You know, he didn't let them enough time to get drunk. Therefore, he doesn't get something as profound, I feel.
Right. So I like your advice.
Takes time.
Wait 3 hours. Wait to the third hour. That's the. You would never think that. You would think maybe after 3 hours they would be tired. In this country, they would be tired. They would want a break. They're just getting warmed up there.
Well, there's all kind. I mean, the majority is like that. Some people would not want to drink, or specific reasons, certain ritual involve alcohol. But you know, okay, it's not the key to good recording. Sometimes it's better. I mean, okay, it's better to capture the sound where they're already a little bit drunk, but not too much. When they're too much drunk, then it's also a disaster. and the result is just a mess.
Okay.
So you have to be there, not at the beginning, not at the end. You have to be there in the middle of it.
Okay. So what That's great. What equipment do you use?
I've used for a long time. In the 90s in India, I used a huge DAT recorder.
Okay.
Then it got fucked up. After it cost less money in Africa, in Tanzania in 99, 2000, I used MD recorder.
Okay.
And I always had decent mics. And then, I mean, every 2 years or 3 years, according to my income, as soon as I got more money, then I buy better equipment. So now that I'm less poor than before, I'm using a pair of DPA, which are DPA 4060, which are Danish professional audio. Every sound engineer would know this equipment. They're really small capsule, so really discreet. I just stick them on a bamboo stick, and I'm using it as a perch and to direct the microphone where the action is. And I'm using now a small Tascam. I've used a small Nagra Swiss digital recorder, but didn't have phantom power. Therefore, I needed an extra box in between. So now I use this new Tascam, which has something like $300-400. The equipment has never been so cheap and so good as nowadays, but it's never been as hard to find also music. You know, it's really disappearing so fast. Like I can see the differences being in this area in 2006, doing lots of recording here. When I go back to those villages trying to find the people I've recorded, sometimes I don't find anything. They're just blasting. They have huge speakers and they're blasting the cheapest local techno. And they say that they sold the gongs. The older guys were willing to keep the gongs died, and as soon as they died, the family sold the gongs. Or there's all kind of stories, but it is probably tougher and tougher harder to find music. It's also a matter of a season. The right now where I am, we are mid of November, and the rice is essential here in food culture. Rice is like 65% of the food intake, you know.
Okay.
And rice hasn't been harvested yet, so they're still busy and it's still rainy and so on. In December, January, February, though that's considered the 3 months of dry season, the harvest will be accomplished. They will produce a lot of rice alcohol. It will be the perfect time to witness gong ceremonies, for example. So right now I'm too early. Right now I'm not going to find anything. Even when I go back to people that I know, it's just going to take time. So it's a matter of season. So I've got to wait and eventually go to visit a friend in Bangkok and come back in the area in December, where it'd be the appropriate time to do recordings. But once again, I would probably find less than what I did 10 years ago.
Okay.
That's obvious.
Yeah.
Je suis en interview avec une radio américaine. Ouais. Je l'ai vu, Yves.
Ouais, tu l'as vu, Yves.
Ouais, on va se voir là-bas, ouais.
Moi, j'y vais maintenant.
Ok. All right.
So again, listeners, I'm here with Laurent, aka Kink Gong, who's in Laos right now, discussing some of his recent recording adventures. So, it's an adventure, right? I mean, it's exciting always, right? What you do.
Yes, I know. As I said, I'm a little bit blasé nowadays because it is harder to surprise me. You know,
Right.
I've seen so many incredible music scenes, spontaneous. It's always been a matter of luck. I mean, I've been really lucky. Like end of October, after having done my concert in Hanoi, the day was finished. I went up north at the border with China, an area that I hadn't visited, Dung province, and it's a matter of luck to just drive around and find like the first. Just accident driving to an area that looked really beautiful to me because it's just wild marijuana growing everywhere. And I found the landscape pretty amazing. And one marijuana field, then there was like 120 Hmong people, and it was a funeral taking place. And well, actually, the Hmong people don't smoke weed. They're heavily into alcohol. They just use it to do textile. Their clothes are made of hemp.
Okay.
So it's actually just the twig of the
Right.
Yeah, what a waste, huh? Between us.
What a waste.
So there was a drum, is a guy playing the mouse organ, and they had slaughtered a cow in the morning, and there was the coffin, and it was 3 women. I don't know if they were relatives or if they were paid to do so, but they were singing and crying at the same time for several hours. Extremely beautiful. And so I stay a little bit outside, and then within 5 minutes, some young guys was sent by the elders and telling them that you can invite the Western guy here on his motor on the side of the road. He can come join us. And boom! As soon as I'm there, I have to get drunk with them, which was the road was really tough. So I knew I had to take care not to be drunk on the road back. I had 10 kilometers of doing on a really incredible mountain road in the very north of full of holes on the road. So I had to be careful not to be drunk. And but yeah, it's a matter of luck to just witness a funeral and record all this music and all this lamentation of women singing. Then the man I was drinking with once. The women were crying and singing on the coffin. They also joined, and so it was a polyphony of like 3 women and 3 men, all crying and chanting on the coffin. And as soon as the men finished, they dry their tears, and then we drink again, and they're laughing. You know, I mean, you have 30 minutes of crying and 30 minutes of laughing and with the same people. It's a very different understanding of death.
Yeah.
It's a very different understanding of what a funeral means. Yeah. And visually it was very beautiful because they had slaughtered this cow, and the cow was like, you know, like this typical colonial picture of like a tiger skin, where you see the entire skin and just the head, and all the bones, all the body has been taken out. It looked the same. It was a cow with the head, everything, the meat and the tongue, everything was still intact, the horns, and all the body had disappeared. All the body was just a skin, and all the body was cut in pieces and hanging on different totems here and there around the coffin. So it was very, yeah, very nice.
I'm just, yeah, I'm trying to picture that scene. That's just amazing.
It's hard to picture it.
Yeah.
Just imagine it. You're in a ganja field and there's lots of alcohol and a huge drum, very beautiful drum. And
yeah.
I try to position myself in between so I can have the drum, the moss organ going around, and the woman crying and singing.
Wow, this is just great. I mean, now I'm going to let the listeners hear a little more of this Gu Chin remix, the Gu Chin. Which can you tell us a little bit about that?
The Gu Chin is one of the oldest classical instrument in Chinese culture. So this is absolutely not an instrument of minorities, but it's a guy I've recorded in China, and he's a decent Gu Chin player. And he wouldn't agree, but I think he's good enough that I could record him. I've never released that, but so it's a 7-string sitar without any fret. And you'll find, I mean, Q-I-N, Chin, or Gu Chin. Gu just means ancient.
Okay.
So you call it Gu Chin or Chin.
Okay.
And you'll find plenty of photo of that. And it's always been a symbol of the music of the aristocrats, actually. So starting as soon as China became communist, that was the first thing to destroy. And so it wasn't many left, and now the idea of having an aristocracy is back to being totally hype in China. So Qin is also hype again. But regardless of the social implication of it, music is fantastic, and it's been really people, very inventive people. During centuries, we've created really great music on Qin, and I'm sure a new generation will come to be creative with the Qin in new direction that hasn't been explored yet. So I just wanted to do the way I proceed with traditional instruments, record them correctly, and start to transform them. So there's a different degree of transformation. Sometimes I want to stay very close to the acoustic and just de-pitch them or change the tempo and organize a kind of collage with them, different layers of acoustic, or also transform them to a point where you don't even recognize what this instrument is. And that's supposed to be like that. So I don't know what track you've heard, maybe a combination of acoustic and stuff that sounded less acoustic. And then on those Gu Chin remix, I've added quite a few voices. Usually the voices I don't transform. I eventually change the tempo, but not the pitch.
Okay.
Because usually those voices are beautiful enough that they don't need to be transformed. I mean, I transform what would still make sense. I mean, if I compare the original and the transformed result, I want to be happy with both. If what I've done is far less good than the original, then there's no point in remixing the original. No. So there's a lot of stuff that are excellent music that I was so far not able to transform because they were just too good. I just had the feeling I was destroying them. I wasn't adding a new dimension to it, you know? So sometimes it's better to take something a little bit dirty and make something beautiful out of it rather than the opposite.
Right. Wow. So if someone has never heard your Kink Gong music before, where should they start?
On my soundcloud.com/Kink Gong, in one word, I got 47 tracks of raw records, so taken out of 47 CDs. There's 135 CDs, so it's just some of them, but I give you an idea. And otherwise, there's also numerous, plenty of different remix that are online. And for the people who really appreciate what I'm doing and who can afford it, it's also nice to buy stuff from me, not only to listen for free on internet.
Yes, I like to encourage that. Yes.
I mean,
this is how you make a living. Yeah.
Both are needed, but this is how I make a living. Yeah.
Yeah.
This is how I make a living. In my case, on the raw recording, let's face it, half of my customers are institutions who follow the rules of copyright. Therefore, they cannot just steal something on internet and put them in a museum. They have to buy it from me. So, half museum of so-called primitive art, or few department of anthropology or linguistic in the US, Canada, or England bought my stuff. Most of the time, it's the result of meeting one of those anthropologists and on the field, and meeting a specialist who know exactly the lack, who know exactly that most of those recordings are not available. So for a specialist who is looking for something very specific on a very specific small ethnic group that nobody has ever heard the name, except this special professor of anthropology, then if I get a good connection with me, if he understands the value of my work, then he orders it from the library of his university and they're buying it from me. It's the way I proceed. By doing shows, of course, must be the same with Sublime Frequencies. People, when they do a show, people who have enjoyed the show, then at the end they buy a few CDs, and this is also the way I proceed. Whether in China or in Europe, it's at the end of the show, showing the DVD that just came out on Sublime Frequencies, which is 54 minutes. Then after an hour of discussion with the audience, and at the end, if people don't think I'm an asshole, then they want to support me and buy some stuff from me.
Yeah, because recently they had one of those shows with Hisham, where he showed two of his films. Yeah, I know that
Hisham is in Paris right now, so...
Yeah, he was in L.A. a couple months ago, and I talked to him, and it was really nice to meet him, and the audience really loved his films. And Alvarius B did a performance, which was mostly comedy, you know.
Now I've met them. When was that? Last year. So we start to be in contact pretty much from the beginning. I emailed them like 2003, 2004 when they started, maybe 2004, and I tell them what I was doing, and by 2006 my first CD came out, and I was just contacting about everyone involved in traditional music, but Sublime Frequency was the only one who didn't give a shit about the fact that I didn't come out from the university. They just judged the quality of my recording, where basic academic label of traditional music in France, totally sponsored by the state. They don't give a shit if they sell or not. They have the money, but they want you to be one of them. They want you to be coming out of the same establishment, and it's not my case. So I was rejected by the people. So at that time, it was only Sublime Frequency who understood the value of my recording. I find it very sad that those people must be even more blasé than me and think they know everything. No, what I did, the result I achieved, the recording I was able to make in the 21st century, it's something that's never been recorded. They never had it in the collection, but somehow they prefer to release stuff that they were doing. Also, maybe they probably have a certain economical agenda. They know what sells.
Uh-huh.
They know what sells. I mean, we cannot blame Sublime Frequency thinking that way, because I've met those guys, Isham and Alan, and I really consider them as friends, and I don't think they have an economical agenda, but they have to deal with economical issues, of course, like everybody else, and they know that the Arab world or Western Africa sells more than Southeast Asia. Mm-hmm. It's a fact. Yeah. It's a fact not only for them, for everyone. But still, they've always encouraged me to release stuff on the label, regardless, knowing that I sell probably, of course, I sell far less than Omar Suleiman. That makes sense. But they always thought it was important, and themselves having a collection of this kind of music and traveling themselves to this area, they knew exactly that nobody had recorded that before, so they were willing to take the risk. Well, and encourage me to keep doing that. So Sublime Frequency has been a good window for me. I mean, a lot of people, when I started my own label in 2007, then it was already a very small hype on Sublime Frequency, and that contributed to people knowing my name, and people who bought the compilation Sublime Frequency. A few people wanted to know more, then they bought more from me, knowing my job on Sublime Frequencies.
Well, you know, Omar Suleiman is really blowing up huge right now over here.
Really?
Yeah, it's a whole new audience. The people that normally wouldn't listen to anything from the Middle East. Ever since he did a mix with Bjork recently.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So and now
he's not even aware.
Oh, you had no idea. So that's going to help all of you guys. What?
I'm aware of a controversy because in April I was in France and I was invited on the national radio, France Inter, prime time, like 7 o'clock or something. And at the end of the show, they told me they were very pleased with me. Everything went smooth because the previous night they had Omar Suleiman, and of course they wanted to. I mean, they had set it up before the show started, but it was online. It was live. They had set it up. I mean, Omar Suleiman and the guy who translated for him had explicitly asked them not to talk about politics. And those French journalists, that's the only thing they wanted to talk about. So it created huge embarrassment because so Omar Suleiman playing dumb is like, what dead? What bomb? What are you talking about? Everything is fine in Syria. So it was like it was a weird controversy.
That's crazy. Oh, man. Well, I think we've run out of time at this point, Laurent.
Okay.
So
yeah.
Perhaps we can soon we can talk again.
It's 4:25 here in southern Laos in the afternoon, and I will go back to the theater of Shadow Puppets. Yeah. And it's been really nice to talk to you.
Yeah, it's very nice to talk to you as well. Yeah, thank you so much. It's really nice to talk to you, and maybe we can do another one of these talks in another place.
Yeah, I don't know. The sound I got of your voice is not so good. I hope the sound you got of my voice was better.
Oh, okay? Yeah, sorry you can't hear me very well, but I can hear everything perfect.
Okay, that's great.
Yeah. So again, we can do this again, hopefully. Yeah.
Great.
Okay.
Keep in touch. Support Kink Gong, and thank you very much for listening.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye-bye. So you've been listening to an interview with Laurent Jeanneau, a.k.a. Kink Gong, who just this week has a new DVD out about him on Sublime Frequencies, and you've definitely heard that name, Sublime Frequencies, on this show. So I'm going to sign off pretty soon, but before I do that, I'm going to play a little more of this Gu Chin remix that Laurent talked about. So here it is. So go to Kink, K-I-N-K, gong.bandcamp.com. kinkgong.bandcamp.com. Also check out Sublime Frequencies label. And he also said to check out Kink Gong at SoundCloud. So here it is, Gu Qin remix. This one's called Kink Gong piano. I'm sorry, this is Kink Dong.